sir. Yes, sir. October 24th, 2016. You're listening to the Line Sports Talk podcast. It is the night before the World Series we have all been waiting for, or at least I have ever since I was a little kid, daydreaming in the backyard. Chicago Cubs travel to Cleveland, take on the Cleveland Indians. This is, for me, just another amazing sign of the times here. I think that hell has actually frozen over. The Indians, the Cubs, and the World Series. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in office. I got engaged this year. The Raiders are 5-2. I am certain, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that there is a global killer of a meteor hurtling towards the planet. I can't imagine how any of this is going to end, good, bad, or indifferent. But as usual, along my side is my man Joe Peeps. Joe, say hi to the fans. What's up, buddy?
Oh, I tell you what, I never, ever thought I would see this day. I still think I'm going to wake up soon. Am I going to wake up? Is my alarm clock going to ring? And I'm going to wake up. Oh yeah, it's not the Cubs and the Indians, the Giants and the Yankees in the World Series.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. There's this constant pinch me going on, which is cool. I'm really thrilled about that. I'm thrilled beyond belief. I did not expect this though. And I think when you and I were hanging out back in June, when I was up in northeastern Ohio and went to some Indians games, and I'm watching this team, and then coming back in July, and I'm watching this team, and we're starting to have that discussion of how good are they, and then we start to realize this team just won 14 straight games in the regular season in the middle of summer.
It is something to be said. The Indians are that team, though. I mean,
they are.
I don't get it almost with them. I really don't see how they're this good. I don't see how they're not. I don't look at them like they would be a bad team, but I just don't see with that cast and that unit how they're this good. And the thing about the Indians is they kind of look at it like, hey, we're playing with house money. We shouldn't even be here. In all reality, we probably shouldn't be here. All the pressure of this series is on the Cubs. They won 103 games during the regular season. They got superstars deluxe all over this lineup. Everywhere. They have no clear weaknesses whatsoever. And the fact that
they really don't. This is the Cubs team beginning to end. This team was built to be here by now. And last year I think they accepted their fate against the New York Mets last year. Just as they understood we're a young team, we're a strong team, we're going to be there for a while. And I think this is a team that's going to be here for years to come as long as this nucleus stays together. The Bryants, the Rizzo, Javi Baez, what a season, or what a series on top of that. Javi was incredible. I know he's a man crush of yours.
Oh, he's the man. He is the fucking man.
Yeah, just awesome to watch. Fun baseball. Love Javi Baez. My favorite, though, Ben Zobrist. I don't know that it's a coincidence that everywhere this guy goes, they end up playing baseball in October.
He just can do. He's that kind of guy. Ben Zobrist doesn't do anything in particular great, but he does everything very good.
And really consistent too. Yeah, he's a leader.
Really consistent. Yeah, he's a guy you will take on your team any day of the week, any day. I said.
He's shown up bigger than Jason Howard this season, which I anticipated, and so did you. Jason Hayward wasn't much of an addition, but Ben Zobrist made all the difference in this team, I think.
It's just all put together, too. I mean, we talked about it in an early show. We had the Twins on here talking about, was it a good move to go get Chapman? Yes, it was a good move to go get Aroldis Chapman. You have that. Even as a Cubs fan or somebody who roots for the Chicago Cubs, I was not nervous in that ninth inning. It just even for a Cubs to say that with the Cubs, you're thinking what can go wrong will go wrong. But I have to tell you, when Chapman was on the mound with a 5-run lead, I'm like, I mean, I can't really fathom this, but I have to start believing they got this. There's just really nothing. I mean, I saw him blow 102-mile-an-hour smoke past the first batter. I believe it was Kike Hernandez, and then I'm like, there's not even. There's no nerve in my body. This is over. They're going to the World Series. It's done. And there was never
watching this shape up, too, watching it all unfold. That series knotted up at 2-2. I can tell you that I wasn't too concerned, even about Kershaw on Saturday night when they went up 3-2. I wasn't concerned about it. for whatever reason, this team, top to bottom, should be there. I don't know that the Dodgers were that good of a baseball team. They're a good young team. They got some good young talent. There's no doubt.
No, they're not a bad. They're pretty good. But what happened to the Dodgers is I just think what the Cubs did. They got worn out.
And the Giants fell apart in August. That Giants team after the All-Star break, the Giants are a better team than the Dodgers. They just fell apart in August. So, okay, the record says they weren't. But falling into that wild card position was not the best thing that could have happened to the Giants. It wasn't.
No, and then having to go play the Cubs in the first round.
Yeah,
that was
it. Wasn't. Look, they got past. It wasn't the best thing. That team needed to have a different line out, and they would have been better, I think. But the Cubs are the best team in the National League.
They're the best team in the National League. From top to bottom, I look at this team like this is clearly the most talented. I can't say they're the best team in the major leagues yet because they still have to get through the Indians, and the Indians have shown that is no guarantee.
No, it's not.
But I will say though, talent-wise, this is clearly the most talented from top to bottom team in the major leagues. It is.
I don't know if that's anybody can argue with that. They're top to bottom. That lineup is scary. If you're an opposing pitcher, if you're Corey Kluber, you've got to be having a look at this and thinking, wow, well, I don't want to pitch to Bryant. I don't want to pitch to Rizzo. I don't want to pitch to Zobrist. I don't want to pitch to Javi. I don't want to pitch to Addison Russell.
How about Wilson Contreras? Throw him in that mix too.
You got a catcher that rakes. Yeah, you don't want to pitch to any of these guys. It's really just it's a great looking series because both of these teams, there's a lot of magic around these two clubs. There is right now. Cleveland was magic. Late in comebacks all season long, something special about the Indians team all year long, and this Cubs team just rightfully dominant.
The key for the Indians, I think, in this series is if they can try to get – because Kluber can't pitch every night. They're going to have to see what a guy like Tomlin can give them 4 or 5. But in all fairness, Josh Tomlin has been fantastic.
Tomlin's
in
been
this
great.
postseason.
Yeah, been great.
And then you get 4 or 5 quality innings out of one of those dudes, and then just put all the hands in your bullpen. That's if you're hoping that the score, you can keep the score at a controlled level, and you have to start hitting. I want to shout out to my buddy C. Willow, Christopher Willoughby, told me today that, and he's right. He said because we were talking about it because he's obviously an Indians fan. I like the Cubs. He says the Indians are going to have to hit the ball better in order to win because you cannot go into the matchup thinking you're going to beat the Chicago Cubs 3-2.
No, you're right. This is a race to 8 almost, and it's really a race to the 7th inning for both of these teams. Both of these clubs made those midseason moves to go get the Andrew Millers and the Aroldis Chapmans. Now, I think if you're either team, you don't want to see either one of those pitchers in the 7th. Neither one of these teams are going to be beaten all the time, more than not, when they get to the 7th inning and you can bring in an Andrew Miller. Andrew Miller was lights out in the playoffs. Yeah, he was lights out in the season.
When he has that slider working, he's almost unhittable.
Yeah, pretty nasty, pretty damn nasty. Chapman, when Chapman's on, it's nasty. You don't, as an offensive club, you don't want to see this guy in the 7th inning. You don't want to see it.
If the Cubs have that mentality, if they have a lead in the 9th inning, like I said, there was never a doubt in my mind.
No, it's gas house. It's just straight gas. Come get him. Come get him. Dare you to hit him. Yeah, all of it. It's actually we've got a really, really level matchup as far as the bullpens go. I think I don't know where there's an edge in the bullpens. I think the edge in bats clearly goes to the Cubs, but just the way that this Indians team hit all year long, clutch, situational hitting, moving runners.
I forget who it was. I think it might have been Joe Buck that brought this up, and I was like, I thought about it. I said, you know something, you're kind of right. He said this Indians team reminds him a lot of the Kansas City Royals of the past 2 years. Timely hitting.
No, they do.
Great.
They're scrappy.
Timely. Yep, scrappy, timely hitting. They run the bases so well.
Yeah,
they're so instinctive. Yep, they're well coached. They have a great bullpen. It's very synonymous to that Kansas City Royals team, and that's what scares me.
Well,
as a Cubs fan,
just watching all these games. And as a baseball junkie who probably watches 3 games a night, thank you for the Major League package because that is just the sweetest thing ever. Watching the way both of these clubs manufacture runs, not necessarily the old-fashioned way, but just by smart base running. I watched Knapp play the other night. Just a great read on a fly ball that dropped. These guys make good decisions that score runs on the base pass. And when you run the bases well, it is the difference between winning and losing, especially in 1- and 2-run ball games.
And the Indians have guys that all are instinctive base runners. When they have a guy a runner on first, and the guy comes up and hits a double, chances are he's going to score.
Yeah, they're flying. They just real aggressive, but just alert on the base paths. It's impressive. They're making good decisions. I like all of it. I think that we're in for one hell of a series, and I hope we are. I hope we get a 6-7 game series out of this. I have a feeling of what I see, and I don't really want to talk about it just yet because I didn't see the Indians getting past Toronto. I didn't. I had the gut feeling that without Salazar, without Carrasco, they were going to have some difficulty if that series went any more than 3 games. And I certainly didn't see them sweeping Toronto. I just didn't. I thought as it would get later, the lack of starting pitching would be a problem. But they got past Toronto with, I don't want to say with relative ease, but they kicked Toronto's ass.
Yeah, and they silenced the bats. But I tend to have this feeling that the issue of depth is going to really come into fruition now against this team as the Cubs, because you have to, in my opinion, you have to have depth to beat the Cubs. You have to be able to match them almost.
Yeah.
And I just don't know the Indians have the depth.
No, I don't know. I don't know. That remains to be seen. The Indians do have a nice bench. Not a great bench, but a nice bench. It's just not comparable. I'm not saying they don't, but I mean it's not comparable with what the Cubs have. Now, no, it's
can
not.
Can the Indians win this series? Of course they can. But should they win this World Series? No, they shouldn't. The Cubs in a 7-game series, the Cubs should be able to beat the Indians, and I truly believe that.
I don't disagree with you. It's hard to argue with. I didn't want to get to predictions yet, and I really want to just beat up the fact that I'm loving baseball right now more than any sport in the planet, and I'm not liking the NFL, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. I still wanted to just shoot the breeze a little bit about this World Series because it is an opportunity for 2 cities that have been, at least baseball-wise, starved for a championship. The city of Cleveland hasn't had anything ever. The Cavaliers this year, 2016, Believe Land. That's so corny, but I like it. The Cavs certainly helped. They kicked in the door, and that's great. And it is a big sport in Cleveland. For me, I'm just not a basketball fan, so it didn't mean a whole lot to me. I would still love to see the Indians win a World Series. But I don't know if you noticed the other night, though, but after the Cubs clinched Saturday night, and then during the celebrations, Pete Rose, A-Rod, and Frank Thomas were sitting around talking. And if you have been listening to Pete Rose at all after these games? Hello?
Yeah, I have. I mean, Pete Rose, none of it surprises me. That guy knows more about baseball than, he forgot more about baseball than I will ever know. So,
he forgot more than I'll ever know. And I'd like to consider myself relatively knowledgeable about the game. He is an absolute wealth of knowledge. And even Frank Thomas and A-Rod were both just in awe of Pete Rose. Just listening to him, he could talk about hitting a baseball for days and be insightful. You'd pick up from it. So it was just really impressive. But I heard them talking about Pete and his Big Red Machine days, kind of saying that, just getting to the World Series now, the challenge is almost over at this point. Like, the big challenge is winning the CS, and then you go to the World Series, and he just said, you're in the dance now. Now you're just there to enjoy it and embrace it and go play baseball for all it's worth. And I'm not trying to discredit or devalue winning a World Series. I'm not. But these guys are still champions.